Hello and welcome to the Daily Brown Bag. Today we're going to be talking about Google's biggest competitor. I'm Chad Hill and I'm joined by Adam Stetzer.
Yeah, good afternoon. Welcome to the Brown Bag. This is an interesting topic, Chad, and we're covering some news today, specifically Eric Schmidt, which is Google's former CEO and current executive chairman, made some provocative statements to a crowd in Berlin that's got a little bit of buzz on the internet. And he was talking about Google's biggest competition, who Google's biggest rival is, and it isn't a search engine. So I think there is a little bit of news here, at least to get into Eric Schmidt's head a little bit. He said to this crowd in Berlin that their biggest rival is Amazon, and that's pretty surprising news, of course, because we think of Google focused mostly on search. Google, a couple stats here, Chad, to set up the discussion, is the most visited place on the internet. That's obviously a verb, which most people know at this point, and it's synonymous with search. According to ComScore, there were 233 million unique visitors to Google in August alone. It's an interesting reference point, but it's even more interesting when you realize total unique visitors on the entire web in August was 248 million. So that puts it into perspective that almost every unique user, a good percentage of them, are visiting Google. Amazon was behind many of the people you probably would have said are Google's biggest competition: Yahoo, Facebook, AOL, and Microsoft, coming in at number 6 in terms of most unique visitors in August, 172 million. So I guess that cues up the question for you, Chad. Why is it that Amazon is such a threat to Google?
Yeah, it is a little counterintuitive at first because we usually would think that it's Bing or Yahoo who would be Google's biggest rival, but the reality is that Google probably sees themselves well ahead of those guys. So I think the reason that Amazon is the person that Eric Schmidt mentioned was because they're competing against each other in a lot of different spaces. First of all, Amazon has its own OS that it's using on its tablets, or at least a highly customized version of some of the Google platforms. So again, they're very active in the device space. They've recently rolled out a phone to compete with Amazon and what Google has out with Android and iPhone has out, or Apple has with iOS out. They're basically competing in the drone space. Google has Project Wing. Amazon has Prime Air. There's Google's rolling out something to compete against Amazon Prime. They recently competed to buy the streaming service Twitch, and Amazon ended up buying it, but Google was right there in the same discussions. So I think they're competing against each other on a lot of fronts. But I think the real kicker here is that back in August, Amazon actually announced that they were going to be developing their own advertising platform. Now they said at first this advertising platform will be something that they'll use to replace some of the Google ads on the Amazon service that currently we're seeing with their own Amazon-hosted ads. But you can only imagine that that's a very fertile testing ground for something that could expand beyond that. And we all know that the value that Amazon could potentially that holds in terms of unlocking people buying stuff could be very enticing for a lot of websites out there looking to better monetize their website. So maybe Amazon can come up with a whole new way of paying for ad space. Could be something very interesting. And so I think that's it, Adam. It's definitely a competition. And I guess the final kicker here is that Amazon actually is Google's biggest single customer for AdWords. They spend $157 million a year on advertising through Google. So pretty interesting stats here.
Yeah, and I think that last one is a kicker. When your single biggest customer spending that much money with you, you have to wonder if they're considering alternatives. I think it's also worth pointing out, Chad, that Amazon has had a long history of a very robust affiliate program, so that may give them a lot of the context they need to do some of their own display advertising, build their own content network, because those would be some of the very same website owners who would be in AdSense. So I'm not sure exactly where their direction is, but it makes sense. And I think the last point is just we think of Google as the search engine, but as you went down that list, they're trying all these futuristic things, and of course Amazon is right there with them, trying out all these new products and ideas. Some of them kind of out there in left field, but we don't hear about Yahoo and Microsoft, Bing, these other guys really having any play in that space. So it is interesting when you start to look at it, 10 years down the road. Well, that's our coverage of the news, what Eric Schmidt said today about Google and Amazon. We'd be interested in your thoughts, and if you think this is really where the market's going, drop us a comment, or better yet, subscribe. We'll see you right back here for another Brown Bag.